Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Eddie Jennings from EJSLLC.com. This video is going to be another in my Red Hat Certified Specialist in Identity Management Exam Practice Session series for the EX362 exam. Before I dive in, I want to thank returning subscribers for watching another video, as well as invite anyone who's watching, if you haven't subscribed, to click that subscribe button. Also, a reminder that these are my practice sessions for the exams. My exam is in just over 3 weeks, and the goal of these sessions is I'll go over whatever the objective is, either talk about the concepts for it or do some examples of whatever the objective is asking you to do. And at the end of the video, I'll do a little self-assessment, and hopefully I'll feel confident with the objective. And if not, I still have a few weeks to shore up some knowledge gaps. That being said, these should not be considered tutorials, nor should they be considered authoritative information. I do try to have the information accurate because hopefully at this point in my preparation I haven't learned stuff wrong, but I am learning right along with you, and so I would not consider or use these as tutorials or as sources of authoritative information. I put these out on the internet in hopes that if you are also working on this exam, you might see some of the stuff that I'm doing to prepare, and that'll inspire some ideas for you for things you can do to prepare. So continuing on in the install and configure Red Hat Identity Management set of objectives, we're going to look at install and configure a replica IdM server. So a couple of things to keep in mind with replicas, and this kind of goes into the whole topology of IdM. You would typically not have a single IdM server, because if that goes down, then you've lost your source of authentication. And although SSSD does maintain a cache of things in case of an emergency and to speed up some of your authentication tasks, ultimately this really can't go down. So you would typically have more than one IdM server in your environment. And I think if I remember correctly from some of my reading, you can have up to 64 replicas in a topology for IdM. So I would imagine you would have 2, and probably you might have something like 3, and have each of them replicating to one another. So that way, if one goes down, you still have 2 others. Especially if you are in like geographically disparate areas, you might have 2 in each area, and then each area is replicating to the others. So there's basically 2 types of replicas that you can make. You can either have normal replica or something called a hidden replica. And the idea behind the hidden replica is it gets all the information from the other IdM servers. However, there are no service records made for it, so therefore IdM clients and such are not going to look to it for authentication. But it is there and available. And that's also the method, or if you're needing to do backups and such of IdM, you would typically be backing up that hidden replica server, because otherwise the services need to go down in order to complete the backup. Well, if the hidden replica is not getting traffic or requests from IdM clients to begin with, that's a safe server to take care of. So let us go to the command line here. And there's a couple of things that we need to do ahead of time. And this, with my practice and such, I haven't found ways around. I will always encounter some issues with these things. And the first, let me just go ahead and SSH into I'm going to end up making 2 replicas in this topology. So we'll go into number 1. I've already done these yet? Nope. All right, so first is we need to do the dance of getting hostname -f to function the way that we want. I've actually forgotten the IP address for this one. 21. Okay. Go ahead and add this here. There are install options that allow you to say the hostname, but from the test that I've done, even though you can put that, still hostname -f needs to do what IdM is expecting. Now, some of you out there may be masters of IdM, and if there's a way to not have to have this functioning, by all means put that in the comments. I'm sure other people as well as myself would like to know, but this has been my experience so far with preparing. The other thing that I'm going to do is set up this replica to already be using the current IdM server as its DNS provider. So We'll do an MCLI con mod. I happen to know the name of the connection. ENP1S0. We're going to change IPv4 or nope, I don't think I can do that yet because I need to download some packages. So that, or yeah, I can do that because the IdM server should be forwarding DNS requests. So let's do that again. NMCLI con mod not mond, and not mon, just mod. And we'll do IPv4 DNS. I tend to do NMCLI con up. I think you can just restart the network manager service and get that. All right, so I think that's all that we need to do for this. And what I'm going to do actually is go ahead and kick off the install. DNF install, I believe it is IPA replica. Actually, we're going to search IPA replica. I know there's a DNS component, and I can't remember if it's like IPA replica DNS or if it's IPA server DNS. All right, let's just search for IPA. Or it might just be the same package. Yeah, that's what it is. It's the server package, but the command that we're going to be using is IPA replica install. That makes sense. So let's go ahead and install these. sudo dnf install -y IPA server and IPA server DNS. All right, and while that's working, I'm going to open another tab, and we're going to do the same thing for replica 2. Oh, IdM, then replica. I can't spell anything right now. IdM replica 2. There we go. And this should be 22 if I remember my addressing scheme, and I do. Lab IdM replica 2. That looks good, and we'll set the DNS, and we will do the network manager way this time. Let's see if that updates the resolve.conf file. And it did. I know for a fact I've done some changes within MCLI that just restarting network manager hasn't picked up. Maybe DNS wasn't one of them, but 2 methods to do it. There's not often there's more than one way to take care of something. So that should be done, and let's go ahead and install the packages. IPA server DNS. Now your replicas, you don't necessarily have to, maybe if I tell it to install, that will be more effective. With the replica servers, you don't necessarily have to do DNS on everything. You can, and I think you can add this after the fact as well. That would be a scenario I encourage you to practice, and I'm not going to do it in this video, but as I get closer to the exam, I'll go through some install scenarios and like maybe make me some replicas and then later add the DNS piece. From the things that I've read within like IPA documentation and such, it is if you intend to use DNS, it's generally a better idea to install it from the beginning, even though you technically can add it after the fact. It seems like the general wisdom amongst administrators with this is, go ahead and do this at the beginning. But I would encourage you to try some of the different possibilities of installation. So while that's installing, I'm actually going to open a third tab, and we're going to go into the IdM server. And the reason we're doing this, again, in my testing, I've tried to do this just with host files and such, but I have found that we need to go ahead and have DNS entries made for your replica servers in whatever the DNS service is that's being used. So we're going to do it the IPA way, or the IdM way. And knet admin is the only user I have right now. Monkey123. And we're going to add some DNS records. So let's see if I can remember the command off the top of my head. Probably can't. You will find, or at least I find myself using --help a good bit, just to refresh myself of a couple of things. But I believe it's going to be DNS. Oh, and tab completion is your friend as well. Yep, DNS record add. And we have to give it the zone, which this zone is going to be IdM EGSlab.com. the record name, which is going to be lab IdM replica 1, and I believe it is a rec. We're going to make that 10, 0, 50, 21, and we can do a create reverse. Now, since I already have the in-adder ARPA zone for 10.0.50/24, you can do this all in one command. Otherwise, you can actually make a PTR, a separate PTR record. We'll do that for the other one. But this should, famous last words in IT, right? Should work. Let's see. And also, these typically have like equals, but I've found you can do that without equals for most stuff. Yay, it looks like it made it. So let's do IPA DNS record find. Go ahead and give it the zone name because it'll ask us otherwise. And there is our lab IdM replica 1. And let's do the same. IPA DNS record find, and we'll do 50.0.10 in adder ARPA. And there is our PTR record for that. And so while we're in here, we'll do this for the second replica. So IPA DNS record add record add. The zone will be idm.egslab.com. Record name will be lab replica or IdM replica 2. A rec will be 10.0.50.22. And we'll manually make the PTR record. So DNS record add. The zone is going to be 50.0.10 in adder ARPA. The actual record is 22, and I think it's PTR rec. And this will need to be the fully qualified domain name, including the trailing dot. So it's a true fully qualified name, including just dot in the domain hierarchy. So lab IdM replica 2.idm.egslab.com. All right, that looks good. And we'll do a different command this time. See if this actually is a valid one. DNS record, I think show is a valid command. Yep. So IdM egslab.com, and this will be lab replica 2, or IdM replica 2. Boo! Did I make a mistake? Probably so. No, it's there. I spelled it right. So let's try this again. Yeah, lab IdM replica 2. Yeah, DNS zone and name. Huh, I must have misspelled something. I probably thought those of you watching saw the mistake, but I somehow missed it. And we'll double check the PTR record as well. And there's our PTR record. So we have DNS set for right now. And we should be able to go back to these servers and dig for our own record, because our DNS server is the IdM server. So here, lab replica 1. Let's do dig. I like doing no all plus answer. There's all sorts of options you can use for dig. And let's do lab IdM replica, if I can spell IdM replica 1 dot IdM.egslab.com. That looks good. That looks good. And now we'll do a reverse search. Do -x for that. Maybe it's lowercase x. There it is. Yeah, lowercase x. All right, so we're getting proper DNS resolution there, and verify this on the other server. I'm just going to do one of the records because if one works, the others are going to work. Dig no all answer. DNS is working the way that we want. So just like we had with the IdM server install command, go ahead and become root. There is a IPA replica install. And just like with the server command, -help will give you all of the details. And as I think I probably did this with the install server command, get you a little text file and flesh out your command and then put it into the actual terminal. And you can see from the previous video, my little files I was using. So we'll do IPA replica install and admin password. This actually is going to be, you can specify a different principal if you want, different Kerberos principal, but if you don't do that, it will default to using just the actual admin account. So that'll be monkey123. And of course, we could do unattended. Since I kind of botched this when I was doing the server install, let's do a full deal here. So we're going to start with our firewall command account, add port, or actually we're going to do service, free IPA LDAP. I'm going to be lazy if my trackpad and mouse will behave. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get the firewall stuff set up. So admin password, we need to give our domain. I'll go ahead and skip a line here. Domain will be idm.ejslab.com. Realm will be idm.ejslab.com. And server, this we do need to tell it since, it may be able to just discover this because since we have the IPA server, it's made some of the service records, but I would still go ahead and put the actual fully qualified domain name of the server that you want. So this will be labidmserver.ejslab.com. There is that host name, which I am, like I said, my practice has taught me that I still need to have that set to where hostname-f will return what we want. And we're basically going to put all the services on this. So setup CA, setup DNS. You might not have to put setup CA. I may be wrong with that. You have the option to go ahead and make a hidden replica if you want. We're not going to do that for this particular practice session. I do encourage you, and I'll be doing this myself, on your, as you do practice sessions, do scenarios where you are installing a hidden replica, hidden replica in particular, because when you get to the objectives about backing up, you're going to need to have a hidden replica, and it would probably be worth doing a scenario where you have an existing replica server and you turn it into a hidden replica, which that would basically be running the installer again and then choosing hidden replica. All right, for the client things, I'm going to go ahead and do the make home dir. We're not setting up NTP. Need to do that. I need to practice that at some point because I think that's one of the objectives is explicitly setting up an NTP server for this because Kerberos is time sensitive. If your time skew, I think 5 minutes is the limit, and after 5 minutes, Kerberos tickets are going to start failing. This time we're going to try some auto reverse. And let's see if it works. Because I have seen errors where it's like, hey, I've already discovered a reverse zone for this. All right, and forwarder, we're actually going to explicitly set that to 40.3. I guess I could in theory use auto forwarders, but remember it gets auto forwarders from whatever's in etsyresolve.conf, and I've already told etsyresolve.conf to use the IdM, the main IdM server. So we'll specify the forwarders. Let's see, what else? I don't think there's anything else that I want with that. Okay, this looks good. So let me copy paste this. I'll just make a file called setup.sh. Need to make that executable. All right, let's see what happens. So it looks like the firewall D stuff worked. Oh, LDAP server not responding, unable to verify if those firewall ports not get opened. Oh, I see what I did. Oops, have the fully qualified domain name wrong. Now, one thing to keep in mind is if you do get a botched installation, notice it's telling you to run server install uninstall to clean up. You will generally want to do that. We're not going to do that here because it hasn't done anything yet. But if you're like in the middle of the installation, you will want to do that. And also, like if you've already went through the piece that is basically registering this as an IPA client, I don't think you technically have to change that, but if it were me, I would go and blow away the computer object and start over with that. But since we're so early in the installation, we won't need to make a change there, or we won't need to run the uninstall. All right, this should, famous last words in IT, right, work better. Of course, all that stuff's already done. I just realized another mistake that I made. Grumble. Okay. And you see it was already getting to the client. So I'm actually going to run the uninstall command after I fix one other thing in my script. I forgot to tell it unattended, because the whole point of doing this was that it's not going to prompt me. So we'll do IPA replica install uninstall. Pretty sure there was a option called uninstall, unless I misspelled it. Oh, no. I was thinking unattended, but no, there should be an uninstall. Maybe it's just IPA server uninstall. But I thought there was that for a replica. I mean, basically what the replica is doing is installing the server, but it's doing a couple other things instead. All right, well, let's do this. IPA server install. And yes, we are uninstalling this. Maybe that's what the message was. And of course, it's going to talk about like failing things because we really didn't have anything installed. Okay, so now this should, again, famous last words in IT, we've seen it proven twice, work. And to be clear, it wouldn't have failed before, but I would have had prompts come up, and the whole point of this is it being unattended. Since I think well, actually it doesn't say explicitly either scripts, but it would not surprise me if they expect you to make a script, because think about, humans are generally not grading these. I'm sure there's some type of script that is used to grade them. So the whatever engine is grading the test will probably try to run your script and see if it works. And so of course you would generally want that unattended. So just like IPA server install, this is going to take a little bit of time. And so actually what I can do while that's working, I'll go ahead and kick this off for the other one. I'm not going to do an interactive install just because it's basically going to be the same thing, but I will fix the things that I had wrong in the other one. Or, I might save that for, I'll use Ansible for the other one. Okay, so I guess while that's working, we can go ahead and hit or start on Ansible. So the pre-work has already been done on that. So let's go into I had my IPA directory. That's where I had the other thing. And we're going to copy user share doc, Ansible free IPA playbooks, and we want install replica. Now you have install cluster, which kind of combines the replica server and client roles in one playbook. I'll go ahead and open the install replica. And just like with the server, what you will see is IPA replicas, and it just calls that role. Go ahead and open that inventory file again, because we'll need to set some things up. So let's go ahead and get the README file for the role. This is going to be very similar to what we had with the server. I'm not going to put both of the replicas on this. So we're working on 2 right now. Yeah. And as I said, a lot of these are going to look very similar. So we'll go ahead and using the admin principal for this. And here are our variables, which, we probably don't have to specify principal. We can probably just say the admin password. And because I'm lazy, I'm just going to copy this from the other part of the inventory. Not everything I can just copy those. So IPA replica domain, grab the realm. This we do need to use, because I believe that is going to tell this where to, of course I didn't copy the way that I wanted, where to do your initial replication from. So lab IdM server, IdM egslab.com. Let's see. Yep, none of that really needs to apply. We do need to specify the directory manager password. We're going to be setting up the CA and DNS. Client variables, I don't think any of that's... Oh, there is an IPA client make home dir. All right, well, we'll do that. Go ahead and do that. I wonder if that's going to be, that'll be valid for the server. I would imagine so. All right, and we're going to do auto reverse. We might actually be able to just omit reverse, because all that stuff should just replicate. We are going to specify the forwarder. You generally want this, I would imagine you don't want your replicas forwarding back to the original IdM server, because the idea is if original IdM server goes down, you'll still have DNS resolution. Okay, so, and again, Thomas Warner, thank you for making this role. I remember when I was first learning how to use the roles and such, I had the hardest time getting IPA replica role to work. It would often fail in the part that it determines if the LDAP service and such is working. And the curious thing about that, I even went into trying to read the Python to see what it is it's checking with that. And the little DNS tweaks that we have done beforehand seem like that is what's needed to make this role work. But again, if you're a master of this, by all means, pipe in and tell me if I'm wrong. All right, so get status, add these, commit, push that. All right, let's see how you're doing. All right, so you look like you were successful. And on our IdM server here, we now can do IPA server find, and there should be two, and IPA server show lab IdM replica 2.idm egslab.com. And we see it has both CA server, DNS server, and it's considered an IPA master. The managed suffixes, that's a part of the replication topology and such, which I think this video is probably getting pretty long. I'll probably talk about that in another practice session. All right, so this stuff is in. Let me go to my automation hub, or not automation hub, automation controller that I made in my environment. I still have the project that I made before, so really all I should have to do is, well, let me sync it. Even though I probably don't have to do this. After this syncs, I'm going to go ahead and resync the inventory as well. As remember, we made the previous practice session. We did all this stuff. Sync the inventory. It should take just a moment. And I guess what I should do is go ahead and change DNS on that, because obviously our IdM is what I'm going to be using as authoritative DNS for the lab. So let me exit out of this, SSH lab A or IdM AAP. I wouldn't say 20 will be, I'll just use the master for that. Okay, so that should allow us to have the resolution that we need. And let's look at groups. We should now see IPA replicas. It has all of our things. All right, so job templates. We'll call this deploy IPA replica. The roles are going to work because in a previous practice session I copied all the roles to the project, because just the role name itself was not enough for the execution environment to figure out, hey, use the Red Hat certified role. So that'll be something to practice at another time. Use that same inventory project. Don't need to specify execution environment. Install replica, save, and let's see what happens. Hopefully we will not get an immediate failure like we did with the IPA server install. Boo. We got a failure. All right, so let's see. Oh, job failed and had no output. Difficult to troubleshoot without any output. There we go. Why would you be trying to connect as root? It seems odd. You should be trying to connect. Oh, I think I know. Yeah. Let me go back to my template. I forgot to specify the host credential or machine credential. That's why. Okay. Now let's try this again. Now the error makes sense. Without specifying the machine credential, it just tries to use the root account of the automation controller server, and that's not going to work. All right, no immediate failure. I'll take this. And this one didn't take too terribly long to do, but I'll pause the video, let this do its thing, and then come back when it has completed or has errored out again. All right, so we appear to have success, and so now let's go to our IdM server. Actually, we'll go to one of the replicas because this should, famous last words in IT, work. So let's start with IdM replica 1. All right, I expect to see that. And let's see if we can log in as admin. Okay, that looks good. If I were to go to hosts, we should see 3. That looks good. And let's see if we can log into the other IdM replica. Again, I expect to see the security, the TLS cert issue. Let's see if we can log into this. That should work. So now if I were to go to IPA server and topology, and then we see all the IPA servers and topology graph, we see that there's already some replication segments that's already been made back to the IdM server, but we'll talk about that more in another practice session. But for the objective, install and configure IdM replica, there's some other configuration things that we can do, but again, this video is getting pretty long, so I think I'll put a pause to it, and I think my voice needs a little break too. But for the install, I'm pretty confident with that. Again, between now and the exam, I'll do some more scenarios and add some of the features of IdM to replicas and probably to the actual IdM server as well, just to practice those. So if you found this video useful or enjoyed it, make sure you do click like. I want to thank returning subscribers for watching another video, and also if you're watching and you haven't subscribed, make sure you do click that subscribe button and ring the bell so you can know when new content is uploaded. Thanks for taking the time to watch, and I'll see you the next time.